Picture this: a single frame frozen in time, a photograph of a life half-lived, edges curling with age, colors fading under the weight of years. That's me, Claire, at 45, standing in the middle of a story I'm not sure I want to keep telling. I've been married to Matthew for 2 decades now, and together we've built something tangible, something real, a little photo studio called Lens and Light, tucked away in a sleepy corner of downtown. It's our sanctuary, our battleground, our everything. But even in a place filled with captured moments, I can't help but feel like I'm slipping out of focus. Our roles in the business are as clear as a perfectly exposed shot. Matthew is the gearhead, the tech genius who can coax magic out of any camera. He's always hunched over some new lens or buried in editing software, tweaking settings until every image is razor sharp, every pixel accounted for. Me? I'm the dreamer, the one who chases the soul of a picture. I agonize over the angle of light, the tilt of a subject's chin, the unspoken story in their eyes. I want every photo to feel like a heartbeat, raw and alive. Together, we're a machine, efficient, precise, unstoppable. But machines don't feel, do they? Step into Lens and Light, and you'll see a space that's as much a home as it is a workplace. The walls are exposed brick, rough and warm, telling stories of decades before us. Shelves are crammed with vintage camera gear, old Polaroids, clunky film bodies, relics. Matthew swears he'll restore someday. In the center of it all is the shooting area, dominated by a massive white backdrop that's seen countless smiles, tears, and awkward family poses. The air smells faintly of coffee and developer chemicals, a scent that's become as familiar as my own skin. It's cozy, if a bit cluttered, with tripods leaning against walls and stacks of client proofs waiting to be sorted. But lately, even this place feels like a cage, a beautiful one, but a cage nonetheless. Matthew and I, well, we're not what we used to be. 20 years is a long time to share a life, and somewhere along the way, we stopped sharing ourselves. We don't fight, not ever. There's no shouting, no slammed doors, just a quiet, creeping distance. We leave sticky notes on the fridge, reminders about bills, client bookings, or to pick up more ink for the printer. It's easier than talking, safer than looking into each other's eyes and seeing nothing reflected back. Weeks can pass without a real conversation, just the hum of routine filling the silence. I'll catch him staring at his computer screen late at night, lost in some technical puzzle, while I sit across the room sketching ideas for a shoot, both of us in our own little bubbles. We're not enemies, we're not even strangers. We're just partners, business partners who happen to share a bed. I'm still in the studio, the late afternoon light filtering through the dusty windows, casting long shadows across the brick walls of Lens and Light. I'm fiddling with a camera strap, lost in thought, when the door creaks open with a slow, deliberate groan. A figure steps in, and I swear the air shifts, grows heavier, like the moment before a storm. He's tall, well over 6 feet, with a lean, almost predatory frame that seems to stalk rather than walk. He's draped in a long, dark coat, the kind that belongs in a Gothic novel, not on a mild autumn evening like this. His face catches the light just so, revealing piercing, stormy gray eyes that seem to cut right through me, pinning me in place. His voice, when he speaks, is low, almost hypnotic, like velvet over steel. "I'm Victor," he says, and I feel the name settle into my bones, sharp and unfamiliar. He barely glances at Matthew, who's hunched over his laptop in the corner, fingers tapping away at some endless stream of edits. Victor's focus is all on me, his stride confident as he closes the distance between us. I'm caught off guard, my hands stilling on the camera strap as he stops just a little too close. "I want a series of unique portraits," he tells me, his gaze unwavering, "for a personal project. But there's a condition. I insist that you, and only you, be the photographer." His words hang in the air, heavy with something I can't name, and I feel a prickle of unease crawl up my spine. Why me? Why this intensity? I open my mouth to ask, to push back, but before I can get a word out, Matthew's voice cuts through the tension, casual as ever. Sure, why not? He says from his corner, not even looking up from his screen. Then, out of nowhere, he winks at me. A quick, playful gesture that feels so out of character, it throws me even more. Matthew playful? Since when? I stare at him, puzzled, but he's already back to his laptop, oblivious to the storm brewing in my head. I turn back to Victor, still reeling from the exchange, and manage a nod. All right, I say, my voice steadier than I feel. I'll do it. He gives me a smile then, a slow, curling thing that doesn't quite reach those gray eyes, and it lingers in my mind like a photograph I can't unsee. We schedule the shoot for the following evening, and just like that, he's gone, the door closing behind him with a soft thud. But his presence lingers, a shadow I can't shake. I stand there for a long moment, staring at the empty space where he stood, feeling the weight of his request settle over me like a shroud. Unique portraits. What does that even mean? And why did he look at me like he already knew every secret I've buried? The rest. The evening of the shoot has finally arrived, and I'm standing in the heart of Lens and Light, the studio humming with a quiet intensity that matches the storm brewing inside me. Matthew is tucked away in the control room, fiddling with audio and video feeds, leaving me alone with Victor in the shooting area. The space feels smaller tonight, the brick walls closing in as I move with deliberate focus, setting up for the session. I adjust the softbox lights, tilting them just so to carve out a dramatic chiaroscuro effect. Deep shadows slicing across the stark white backdrop, a canvas of light and dark that feels like a mirror to my own conflicted soul. I smooth out the backdrop, making sure every wrinkle is gone, every imperfection erased, as if perfection in this setup could somehow steady the unease gnawing at me. My camera sits on the tripod, and I test the settings, clicking through apertures and shutter speeds, the familiar rhythm of the process grounding me, if only for a moment. Victor stands off to the side, watching me work. He's silent at first, his presence a weight I can't ignore, that faint, unsettling smile playing on his lips like a secret he's waiting to share. I try to focus on the task, but his gaze is a physical thing, pressing against me, making my hands falter as I tweak the lens. Then, his voice cuts through the silence, low and deliberate, like a blade slipping through silk. I don't just want you to shoot, Claire. I want you to live in the moment. The words hang there, heavy and cryptic, and I freeze, my fingers pausing on the tripod. I turn to him, confusion tightening my throat, and manage to ask, "What do you mean by that?" My voice sounds smaller than I intend, almost lost in the vastness of the studio. He steps closer, his tall frame looming, the air between us shrinking until it's suffocating. I can smell the faint, earthy scent of his cologne, and it's dizzying. Before I can step back, his fingers brush against my wrist, a touch so light it's barely there, yet it sends a jolt through me, electric and sharp, waking something deep inside. I should pull away, I know I should, but I'm rooted to the spot as he traces a slow, deliberate line up my forearm. My breath catches, a ragged sound in the stillness, and I feel it. A raw, forgotten desire I've buried for years, clawing its way to the surface. My mind screams with guilt, a cacophony of warnings about Matthew, about boundaries, about everything I've built. But my body betrays me, refusing to move, caught in the pull of Victor's stormy gray eyes. The tension coils tighter, a wire about to snap, when the studio door opens again. Two men step in, their presence as commanding and unsettling as Victor's. He introduces them as his friends, Luca and Elias, both in their late 30s, with the same intense, almost hungry demeanor that sets my nerves on edge. Victor says they're here to help with the lights, but there's something in his tone, a subtle undercurrent that tells me it's more than that. Luca is broad-shouldered, with dark, piercing eyes that seem to see too much, while Elias has a leaner build, his sharp features softened by a deceptive smile. I open my mouth to protest, to question why they're really here, but before I can form the words, Luca approaches me. His hand brushes my shoulder, a casual gesture that feels anything but, and then he leans in, his lips grazing my collarbone in a way that sends a shockwave through me. I'm stunned, my heart slamming against my ribs, but I don't pull away. I can't. The air is thick with something forbidden, something I've denied myself for so long. What happens next is a blur, a descent into a world I never thought I'd touch. On that white backdrop, under the glow of the studio lamps I so carefully arranged, surrounded by the rhythmic click of my camera set to timer, I let myself go. Victor, Luca, Elias, they draw me in, their touches like whispers of flame, igniting. I'm stumbling out of the main studio area now, my legs trembling beneath me like they might give out at any moment. My mind is a chaotic storm, swirling with guilt so heavy it presses down on my chest, exhilaration that still buzzes through my veins like a forbidden high, and a creeping dread that claws at the edges of my thoughts. What have I done? The question echoes in my skull, relentless, unanswered. My skin is slick with sweat, a thin sheen that clings to me, a reminder of the heat, the intensity, the moments I can't take back. I can still feel the lingering warmth where unfamiliar hands traced paths across me, igniting fires I didn't know I could still feel. My breath comes in short, uneven gasps, my lungs struggling to keep up with the frantic pace of my heart. It's as if my body hasn't caught up to the reality of what just happened under those studio lights, as if it's still caught in the haze of that white backdrop, lost in a dance of shadows and forbidden whispers. Victor and his friends, Luca and Elias, are gone now. They slipped out as silently as ghosts, leaving no trace of their presence except the weight of what transpired. It's just me now, alone in the echoing vastness of lens and light, the studio that's been my sanctuary for so long. But it doesn't feel safe anymore. It feels like a crime scene, and I'm the one who pulled the trigger. My footsteps falter as I move away from the shooting area, the brick walls seeming to loom closer, judgmental in their silence. The air still carries the faint scent of that earthy cologne, a ghost of Victor's nearness, and it twists something deep inside me, part longing, part revulsion. I don't know how to reconcile the two. I'm heading toward the control room, a small, dimly lit space tucked away behind a glass partition. It's where Matthew spends hours monitoring live feeds during shoots, tweaking audio, adjusting visuals, always in control. My stomach churns as I approach, each step heavier than the last. What will I find when I see him? What will I see in his eyes? My hand hovers over the doorknob, trembling, slick with the same sweat that coats my skin. I'm terrified, not of anger or shouting, but of something worse. Indifference, disappointment, or maybe something I can't even name. I stand there for what feels like an eternity, frozen by the weight of my own betrayal, before I finally muster the courage to turn the knob and push the door open. The room is bathed in a faint, cold glow from a desk lamp, the monitors dark and lifeless. Matthew is there, sitting in his usual chair, his broad shoulders hunched slightly as he stares at the blank screens. I know he's seen it all. The cameras were rolling, streaming live to this very room. Every moment, every touch, every lapse in judgment, it was all captured, laid bare for him to witness. My throat tightens, a lump forming that I can't swallow down. He doesn't look at me, doesn't acknowledge my presence at all. His gaze is fixed on his left hand, where he's twirling his wedding ring between his fingers. The gold catches the dim light, glinting with every slow turn, a silent accusation. It's a small motion, but it feels like a scream in the suffocating quiet of the room. I can't breathe, can't move, can't think past the deafening silence that stretches between us. I open my mouth to speak, to say something, anything, that might bridge this chasm I've created. An apology, an explanation, a plea for forgiveness. But the words die before they can form, choking me with their inadequacy. What could I possibly say that would undo this? That would erase the images burned into his mind from those monitors? My lips part, but only a shaky breath escapes, a sound so small it's swallowed by the stillness. I stand there, rooted to the spot, waiting for him to lash out, to demand answers, to show some flicker of the pain I know I've caused. But he doesn't. Instead, after what feels like a lifetime, he breaks the I'm still in the control room, the weight of what just happened pressing down on me like a physical force, making it hard to draw a full breath. Matthew's chair creaks under me as I sink into it, the worn leather cool against my skin. But it's not comfort I feel. It's an ache. A hollow void where something vital used to be. He's gone now, slipped out of the room without a word after that unbearable silence, leaving behind only the ghost of his presence. The hum of the equipment fills the space, a low, constant drone that seems to vibrate in my bones, amplifying the emptiness. I catch a faint whiff of his cologne clinging to the chair, a familiar mix of cedar and something earthy, and it hits me like a punch, dragging up memories I'm not ready to face. On the desk in front of me, his wedding ring sits abandoned, a small, glinting circle of gold under the dim desk lamp. It's cold to the touch when I pick it up, heavier than I remember, as if it's carrying the weight of every promise we made. I turn it over in my trembling fingers, noticing the tiny scratches etched into the metal, each one a silent testament to the years we've shared. There's a deep one near the edge, probably from that time we renovated the studio together, hauling equipment and laughing over paint-splattered clothes. Another, fainter mark, might be from the countless late nights he spent tinkering with gear, the ring clinking against camera bodies as he worked. Each imperfection is a story, a piece of a life we built brick by brick, and now it's all crumbling because of me. Tears come then, hot and relentless, spilling down my cheeks before I can stop them. They blur my vision, turning the ring into a shimmering, distorted shape in my hand. I don't bother wiping them away. There's no point. The pain is raw, unfiltered, clawing at my chest as I replay the last 20 years in my mind like a film on loop. I see us in the early days, so young and full of fire, sneaking kisses between shoots, our passion spilling over into every frame we captured. I remember the late-night sessions where we'd stay up until dawn, sprawled on the studio floor with takeout containers scattered around us, laughing over the most ridiculous things, bad client requests, botched exposures, the way my hair always got in the lens. Those moments felt invincible, like nothing could touch us. But time has a way of dulling even the brightest edges, doesn't it? I see the slow fade too, the way our conversations dwindled to nothing, replaced by sticky notes and curt nods. The way we stopped looking at each other, really looking, until we were just two people sharing a space, not a life. And now, in one reckless, selfish moment under those studio lights, I've shattered whatever fragile thing remained. I've destroyed it all. Our marriage, our partnership, the sanctuary of lens and light. I did this, me. My hands shake as I set the ring back on the desk, the clink against the wood sounding louder than it should in this suffocating quiet. I fumble for my phone, my fingers clumsy and slick with sweat, desperate to reach him, to hear his voice, to fix this somehow. I dial Matthew's number, each press of the button feeling like a plea in itself, but it goes straight to voicemail. His recorded voice comes through, calm and steady as ever, asking me to leave a message, and it breaks something inside me all over again. I stammer through a desperate, rambling plea, my words tripping over each other in a mess of emotion. I beg him to come back, to talk to me, to let me explain, even though I know there's no explanation that could erase what he saw on those monitors. I tell him I'm sorry, over and over, until my voice cracks and the tears choke me silent. But deep down, I know he won't call back. I can feel it, that finality, like a door slamming shut in my soul. Days pass in a blur after that, each one bleeding into the next with no distinction. It's been a week since Matthew walked out, and I'm still caught in this suffocating fog of regret and loneliness, drifting through each day like a ghost in my own life. I barely leave the house anymore, unable to face the world outside, unable to face myself. The silence is deafening, broken only by the occasional creak of the old floorboards or the distant hum of traffic. I've taken to sitting on the worn-out couch in our living room, surrounded by stacks of old photo albums from the early years of our marriage, torturing myself with glimpses of a happiness that feels like it belonged to someone else. Each page I turn is a fresh wound, a reminder of what I've lost. My fingers tremble as they trace over the glossy surfaces, lingering on the smiles, the shared glances, the moments I didn't know would be so fleeting. There's one photo in particular that I keep coming back to, one that cuts deeper than the rest. It's from a beach shoot we did years ago, back when Lens and Light was just starting to take off. In the frame, we're standing ankle-deep in the ocean, the waves crashing around us in a frothy roar, spraying mist that glitters in the golden hour light. Matthew's got his arm slung around my waist, pulling me close, and I'm laughing, head thrown back, mouth wide open, a kind of joy that looks so foreign to me now. Our hands are intertwined, fingers locked tight, like we could hold on to each other forever. The sand is speckled with tiny shells, and the horizon behind us stretches endlessly, a promise of infinite tomorrows. I remember that day so vividly, the salty tang of the air, the warmth of his skin against mine, the way we couldn't stop giggling as the tide kept trying to knock us over. Looking at it now, the pain is a physical thing, a vice around my chest, squeezing until I can barely breathe. How did we get from there to here? How did I let it all slip through my fingers? I've spent hours staring at that photo, tears staining the edges of the album, my mind replaying every mistake, every wrong turn. The nights are the worst, endless stretches of darkness where sleep refuses to come, leaving me alone with my thoughts. I keep my phone close, checking it obsessively for any sign of Matthew, a text, a missed call, anything. But there's nothing. Just the same empty screen, mocking me with its silence. I've lost count of how many voicemails I've left him, each one more desperate than the last, my voice breaking as I beg for a chance to make things right. But I know he's gone for good. I can feel it in the hollow ache that's taken root inside me, a void that nothing can fill. Then, late one night, as I'm sitting in the dim glow of a single lamp, lost in yet another spiral of memories, the phone finally rings. My heart leaps into my throat, a wild hope surging through me. Maybe it's him, maybe he's ready to talk. But the number on the screen isn't familiar. I answer with a shaky hello, and the voice on the other end is gruff, official, belonging to someone from the local fire department. My blood turns to ice as he delivers the news. Lens and Light, our studio, the heart of everything we built together, has burned to the ground. The words don't register at first, like they're spoken in a language I can't understand. Burned. Gone. I stammer out a few incoherent questions. How? When? Why? But he doesn't have answers, just tells me I should come down to the scene. I hang up in a daze, my hands trembling so badly I nearly dropped the phone. I don't remember getting dressed or grabbing my keys, don't remember the drive over, but somehow I find myself standing in front of what used to be our sanctuary. The sight hits me like a punch to the gut. There's nothing left but smoldering rubble, the once warm brick walls now blackened and crumbling, scarred by flames that must have raged for hours. The massive white backdrop that framed so many captured moments is reduced to ash, fluttering in the night. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you.